and welcome to the second video ever made on this channel. Today I would like to talk about a subject very near to my heart. Chavismo. As in, I hate it with all my soul. However, Univision, which is basically government media at this point, has to praise it, because even though it says the good and the bad, there is nothing good about Chavez. And that is the argument that I shall propose now. So without further ado, here it is, the good. Although, no, this is mean. Okay, let me just read you the small introduction if you want. Chavez has won 13 out of 14 national elections in his 14 years of government. What elections? We don't have elections yearly. We have elections every 6 years by a constitution he put in place in 1999. Although, whatever, he basically wanted to rule for life, and he did. He died of cancer, finally. There is no government in Latin America that entices more controversy. This means basically controversy and such in discussion-wise, analysis and commentary than Hugo Chavez's in Venezuela. His accomplishments and failures are the motives of numerous inventories, and the polarization around his figure tends to be distorted by both sides, basically. Univision, or Univision, resumes here the good and the bad, that says, with numbers or arguments, about the 14 years that he was president of Venezuela, basically, in his South American mandate. So that's my very rough, unprepared translation. And let's start the good. An analyst this is his name, says that he has analyzed several statistics during President Chavez's terms, and he puts up with these arguments. The first one, Chavez has won 13 out of the 14 elections, national elections, mostly because the president has improved the standard of living for the majority of Venezuelans. That is false. He has actually tore it apart. I mean, inflation is reaching 700%. You recalled all our gold and immediately lost it as soon as it landed, because you're all idiots, apparently, in your little party, the PSUV. So, no, you have basically tried to create equality, economic equality, by bringing everyone down to the same level of poverty than the people who elected you in the first place. And you know what? They say it's great, because while they live in mildly less poverty, they also see the world is collapsing around them to the same level, and they feel great about it, probably. But no, he has not done this. In fact, the BBC reports the complete opposite. Right here, when you see the census of living, you realize that yes, although poverty of income has gone down, the standard of living of the people in the country has not improved whatsoever. And yes, BBC is British state-run media, but BBC is just agreeing with something I already knew before. I just couldn't find another source. I was too lazy doing research. In fact, for some of these points, I don't even have tabs for it because it was crowding me and it was annoying. Anyway, since 2004, absolute poverty has gone down 70%, whilst relative poverty has gone down 50%. If I can find the tab that I wanted to talk about this, I believe it was probably BBC again. Yeah. And it's that, yeah, you know, even though poverty of income has gone down, and these are false figures, I think. The standard of living has not improved whatsoever. Now, Chavez is very popular, as you can see. And I think I skipped over this part. Actually, I could talk about it down here, so never mind. Okay, yeah, we're good. These stops are gonna get used. Okay. Now, millions of people have access to the healthcare system for the first time. No! You corrupt politicians have defunded all social welfare, meaning no one has access to anything. Nobody has access to even the most basic drugs to control things like headaches or allergies. Okay, there's nothing anymore because we nationalized all these industries and destroyed the private sector. And now the healthcare system just can't run. So you failed. No one has access to the healthcare system now because you defunded everything to fill your to line your pockets and destroyed the private drug industry. So now no one has anything drugs wise, as in medical drugs. Now the private sector has grown more than the public sector. That's just an outright lie. The private sector has shrunk because the government has expropriated or commandeered. I like this one better because it sounds more like stolen land from a ton of producers of things like, you know, food that I loved. Actually, I love those brands, and now they're gone. In fact, on the shelves you can see there's a lack of toilet paper, food, and basic materials such as medicine or even toothpaste, but the shelves are or milk, and the shelves are just full of chocolate. Chocolate! Who can live on chocolate, Chavez? Who can live on chocolate? Because, yeah, maybe your fat ass can, but not anybody else, okay? No. The public sector now works less days of the week, but that's it. The private sector has shrunk to near non-existence because the public sector has grown dramatically by nationalizing all these industries that the government itself has to import food, because food production is screwed. Now, the possibilities of obtaining a pension have tripled. You know, my grandmother lives on a pension, and if she only worked with the pension they gave her, she couldn't even afford a water bottle, probably, or food. My grandma lives because the rest of my family chips into her to help her, because it is literally illegal for her to work, being also a dual citizen of both Venezuela and Italia. And she is over the retirement age, so she can't work on either country. She can't make money. The rest of the family has to sustain her, be, you know, their mother. But the pension isn't enough to live. So even if some people had access to it, you can't live on it. You can't live on it. It's nothing. It's nothing. This is a failed socialist utopia or communist utopia. Either one, because, you know, they're having the workers seize the means of production. So I guess it's moving more communist. It's just failing. Like, everyone knew it was gonna fail. Chavez made empty promises and used his charisma to get into the presidency, but he attempted a coup d'etat, and he was released by another idiot president who was at least slightly less moronic than Chavez or Maduro, who was a bus driver of whom I have better qualifications because I passed 7th grade. I didn't drop out midway through it. Now, employment has risen. Ask anyone that was formerly employed by Polar Industries. Tell them how good it went with the employment rise. No, employment has fallen because there is no materia prima, or I don't know how you would call it in English. It's basically a thing you use to make other things, right? Raw materials to produce anything, leading to widespread unemployment and the rise in crime. So congratulations. I guess all the robbers vote for you because they're making such a great living off robbing all their money and then killing people randomly in the streets. Because you know what? In Venezuela, it's not like in the United States where at least the robbers only take your phone. They take your phone and kill you so you can't incriminate them later. Or something, whatever. As if the court of law in Venezuela actually worked. And wasn't run by corrupt maniacs who have offshore accounts in the Canary Islands filled with Venezuela's entire freaking what remains of their economy in there. So they can go retire in Cuba or some shit and live off the high life. The press focuses on inflation, but the levels are going down. I don't know what fantasy world you live in, Univision, but inflation is about to reach 700%. Okay, that is not healthy inflation. That is something like the Weimar Republic's level of inflation, where they sweep cash off the street as if it was like leaves because it was so worthless. Okay? There's story of people leaving to buy bread with trolleys of just money to go buy bread at a local bakery or whatever, and having the trolley stolen and they left the money because the money is worthless. And you are heading Venezuela straight into there, if not worse. So I hope you're proud of yourself for being bought off. Others point these are other positive points about Chavez. So you have during his 14-year government, Chavez has maintained high levels of popularity, higher than 50%. Yes, but popularity doesn't equal that it's a good thing. Okay, the masses can sometimes be very stupid. Okay, like a great majority of Muslims in Pakistan, I believe 78%, want to kill people for apostasy. They want the death penalty for that, for example. So obviously, that's not good. But also, of course he's popular. He's a communist populist that appeals to the greater social class, the poor. The higher class, the two economic classes are undeveloped and critical poverty. I am not even kidding. Those are two social/economic classes in Venezuela. Okay? And since you used to have to fool a majority of the uneducated poor people who can read, apparently, great. That we can all read at least, so we can read about the downfall of our country. But it's just no. You may be popular, but you're not good. You just weren't good. You do not know how to run a country. Go back to your grave and Univision stop freaking praising him. Because you know what? Modern day Chavistas, a whole ideology based on his name and his beliefs, a very corrupt one at that. You basically just have this cult of personality, because what Chavistas shout all the time is Chavez vive! Which is Chavez lives, basically trying to say that, hey, the body may be dead, but somehow his soul metaphysically lives on in our ideology. And I hope they all drown in just another mudslide. Which that mudslide in, I can't remember the city now, not at this moment, but yeah, that one attacked innocent people. I wish the Chavistas would just gather around in one of their little crappy countryside villages and a mudslide killed them all, because honestly that would get us to progress into that would finally get us to elect someone who can actually bring the country forwards instead of taking a million steps backwards. Did we never learn anything from the recently collapsed Soviet Union in the 90s? Seriously, voters, come on! Now, let's move on, because I really want to get angry, right? So, El Pueblo, the people, the country, now has a greater voice in the political decisions compared to other regimes. Oh yes, so we went from just military dictatorship to a communist dictatorship. Oh yes, and people have compared Venezuela to a banana republic. Okay, you know what? I prefer the military dictatorship that at least has any idea how to run a country to this idiot who doesn't know how to run any country whatsoever and just disastrously kills the country. Why? No, he took away the voices of people because they are corrupt officials. They put party officials who have no idea how to run things, just like in China, in charge of very specific things, which is why we have power outages. Why we have power outages? Because those plants are falling apart. Not to mention, tensions have now been raised because of the drought, and the government has been paralyzed. So, you're just useless. The people don't have a voice in decisions, because if the people did, if we did, your government wouldn't be in power. Your government would be kicked out. There would be a bunch of hobos crowded around the fire in the Amazon rainforest or something. Hell, not even, because you would probably escape to Cuba, the country which I really think Venezuela should just annex outright because they owe us so much money. Because what the Chavistas started to do, right, was that they would basically have these oil shipments, because Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. And they would basically just lend them to Cuba, and when Cuba doesn't pay the money back, they turn a blind eye. So they basically lend these shipments that Cuba then resells in the open market of oil, and Cuba is supposed to pay to Venezuela like a loan. It's basically a loan through oil for monetary benefits, but they don't, and the government's doing a blind eye because this is really just trying to earn political favors. So I believe that since Cuba, the country itself, if they just sold their entire GDP, could probably not pay for all the oil we lend them, let's just annex the country and bring freedom to them, United States style. Plus, we are the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, right? Okay, then why are we deporting Colombians instead of forming bonds with them? Why are we not taking a more aggressive stance on Essequibo against Guyana and why is it a bad idea to annex Cuba? If Bolivar's dream was of a united Spanish colonial nation, not colonial nation, but form of the former colonies of Spain, called the Federation of Colombia, and we're supposed to be realizing that dream, I'm not a globalist, okay? But, you know, I would like to see the Great Colombia reunited and have some more territories, but I agree that it is unfeasible to try to unite all Spanish-speaking countries, and in fact, it oversteps our boundaries a lot. But Cuba really owes us. We have a very similar culture, and I bet their citizens would love it, going from being completely poor to just mildly completely poor, wouldn't they? Anyway, Chavez has basically shown a great sense of solidarity with the countries in the region of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Bolivia in petroleum and economic help. I'm surprised those countries took our economic help. I bet that's what you called those oil shipments, didn't you? Now, Cuba, yes, let's ally the hermit communist nation that has been a total shithole for the past century or so. Not century, but let's say 50 years, half a century. No, yes, century, because ever since they declared independence from Spanish rule, they did not learn anything from the history of the countries that declared independence a century earlier that had fallen into military dictatorships and the such, and then promptly became communist. Like, yes, I guess education is a bit better, but that's about the only merit. Nicaragua, is led by Sandinistas. Who are the Sandinistas? The Socialist Revolutionary Party of Nicaragua, that's who they are. And it's just, why? These are not allies you want. These are the people who will likely collapse their countries. Okay, and Bolivia? They are currently owned by another socialist movement. So really what we're doing is creating our little, literally second world country area. Because, first world countries are just countries that are aligned with the United States in the Cold War. Second world are aligned with the Soviet Union. Third world are aligned with no one. And we went from third world to second world. And right now, we're just trying to form a little South American second world organization. Or whatever. And that is not good. Because that basically means that we are not just screwing ourselves, but then telling everyone that, hey, we are communists. If you're not a communist, you're evil. And go screw yourself. I mean, we are a part of OPEC and condone all the resolutions, but, Now, to talk about, really quickly, to sum it up because I'm running out of time, this last point, basically, he has kicked out the influence of the Empire, or the United States. What? The United States! You can't blame the United States for all of Venezuela's problems, you understand that, right? The oil companies may have bullied us, but they are not the United States, they are the oil companies, okay? You can't blur between the two to create this anti-United States sentiment to fuel your anti-capitalist sentiment. That's just not it. Okay? Now, please, if you're a Venezuelan listening to this, or if you're just a very kind-hearted individual, okay, that knows Venezuelans, tell them to not go vote for Chavez. Tell them all the flaws. Research this topic into yourself, because I barely scratched the surface of what is wrong with my nation and the people who have done it. So, please, encourage them to vote opposition, okay? Just do it. Because when the opposition wins, at least we'll be taking a step in the right direction towards creating a wonderful country. Alright? Thank you. And thanks for watching.